What is it really about? The real stuff, the real reason that 80% fail and that 20% succeed. The 80% tend to get into these cycles in relationships where you've got one person that is leaned in and one person that is leaned out. This person that's leaned in is feeling really anxious. They might even be told that they're acting crazy or that they're clingy or that they're being dramatic or they're being too emotional or too sensitive, but they're feeling really lonely in the relationship. They're feeling like their partner doesn't appreciate them, like their partner doesn't love them as much as they love them, and they're just wanting more closeness. That's it. They're fighting for the relationship. But their partner is in this more avoidant position, and they are feeling really scared of getting too close. They feel like they're going to mess it up. They feel inadequate. They're afraid. And so they have this dynamic where one's leaning away and one's leaning in. And after you've done this for a while, and there's some fights that are getting picked, and the person leaning in tends to finally pull back, and they're like, hey, you know what? This isn't cool. I don't know if I can do this relationship anymore. I could find somebody else. I'm not feeling loved. I'm pulling back. And then this person who's been leaned away is like, wait a second, where are you going? And they come in and they're like, hey, I'm so sorry, I messed up. And they reassure and they say all the right things, and they may even get emotional. And so this anxious one is skeptical, but this is what they wanted. And so eventually both people are leaned in. And it's this amazing moment where for a couple of days or maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a month, everything is good and blissful, and it feels like things have really changed. And then, before they know it, they're back into that original position where one person is leaned out and one person is leaned in. And again, we feel inadequate and unloved and like it doesn't feel safe and we don't know where we stand. And then we just keep doing this motion over and over again, which is that hot and cold, up and down kind of teeter-totter relationship, the roller coaster of emotions. And we always feel like the other shoe's going to drop. We feel like we're going to get rejected. We're going to get abandoned. Right after we have a close, loving moment together, something is going to sabotage the relationship. We're going to get into a fight. And we love the person. We want to hold on to this relationship. And yet it feels so out of our control. No matter what we do, the harder we fight, the more that we get into this back and forth cycle. And the 80% are in that cycle. They find themselves on the dating scene in that cycle where one person is leaning in more than the other. If someone really likes them, it seems like they're kind of put off and they don't feel a spark. But if they really like somebody, then that person tends to be pulled back and out of reach. And it's this really, really messy process that leaves you feeling pretty hopeless about dating and about relationships. And this also happens in marriage. And so wherever you're at in the dating process or the marriage process, you're in this cycle, and it's so painful, and it makes you feel like there is no hope for you in relationships, and that honestly, maybe it would be easier to just be alone. And here's the thing. The reason that the 80% are in these cycles is because they have what's called insecure attachments. They feel insecure in relationships. It doesn't matter who it's with. They feel insecure. They feel like they're not good enough, like they're not lovable. And because of that, it causes them to sabotage relationships. It causes them to choose people that are going to make them feel unsure and insecure. And therefore, we have more and more of these cycles. And the insecure attachment styles are wired into our brains by 18 months old. So this happens when we're a little baby, before we can even remember things. Our brain gets wired to be insecurely attached. And then that causes you to be drawn to the cycle, to think that the cycle is what is normal when it comes to love. We get used to the chaos. It causes us to sabotage relationships, to do things that we regret, and then to choose people that, again, make us feel unlovable, insecure, and unsure about ourselves. And so the 20%, on the contrary, have what's called secure attachment. And to be the 20% that's in love and happy and they're leaned in all the time, there's none of this back and forth. They don't fight. They see eye to eye. They're really loving. Nobody sabotages. Nobody's reactive. They feel good enough and they just are best friends. They're the relationship that we see. And while it seems strange because we don't see it very often, it's what we want. It's what we see in movies. We hear about it in songs, and that's what we want. And the 20% that have that relationship that we envision ourselves having, that we hope we can have, is because they have a secure attachment with each other. They have secure instead of insecure attachments. And so if you want to be the 20%, you have to become securely attached. You have to do it differently, and you have to become secure so that you can find love that will actually last you, so you don't get into that cycle. This reminds me of one of my clients. Her name's Kaylin, and she spent her 20s in this cycle on the dating scene where someone was leaning in and someone was leaning out, and it was this back and forth and never quite catching each other at the right time. It seemed like timing was always off. We must not be compatible. The communication styles are too different. And she discovered that, oh my gosh, I'm having all these problems because I have an insecure attachment style. And I am drawn to people with insecure attachment styles. And I'm drawn into this cycle. And so she went through my process based off that 70 years of research, the process I created. And she was able to change from an insecure attachment style into a secure attachment style. And then was able to date securely and find secure love. And now she is in the relationship of her dreams with a love that will last so that she can be the 20%. And so, good news. It is actually possible to change your attachment style. We can change our attachment style from insecure to secure. And that's what leads me to my favorite point I'm going to make, which is number 3.